to be a little bit more kind of at an angle than what it is right now. So that's what I'd like to do. So what are the negatives? I mean, this is the negatives of this bike. I think, I mean, it's very hard to pinpoint negatives, but I think I'm just not I think one negative that I can just immediately see is definitely you have to put in quite a bit of pressure to pull in that lever. It's a lot of force you have to put in. I don't know, I just feel but sometimes it's pretty easy to pull in, sometimes it takes quite a bit of tension to pull in. So I'm not sure what that is all about, because on my other bike pulling in the clutch is very easy to do. I don't know whether that's because it's brand new, maybe it's just need to get used to it, maybe the angle's just not right, that's why I'm not applying the force is not being applied easily. Oh yeah, and then the other kind of positive about this bike is just kind of, this is in the city, right? You're riding in the city, you're not really going at extremely high speeds, but it's able to maneuver and just be pretty happy at low revs, right? Pretty comfortably. It's not kind of crying when feeling uncomfortable. It's very smooth. I was also expecting the seat to be kind of lower and the riding position to be lower, but that's not the case. It's turned out to be pretty high. I still get a good, I'm sitting up pretty high. The seat is about 32 inches height, they say. It doesn't feel like 32 inches, it feels like it's higher, and I'm 6-foot guy, and I still feel like I'm sitting pretty high up and I'm getting a good commanding view of the road. So that's been a surprise. I never expected to be like that. Okay, so yeah, so the lanes out, and the other thing about this lane splitting is very easy to do. I think it's easier than my V-Strom. I think the V-Strom has better visibility on the adventure bike because you're sitting up higher, but the plus about this bike is the ability to react quickly, right? So that's been a plus about this bike. It just reacts much more quickly, and when you're lane splitting you have to make quick moves to avoid hazards. And I feel very comfortable that this bike gives me the added assurance of making moves much more quickly in the event of avoiding hazards. And the other thing that I've noticed about this bike is, this is all kind of, my first day, is when you get on the freeway, I've noticed that it gives you a very good wind protection, and there's no wind buffeting at all, and at high speeds you can get some really good wind protection. And the full fairing, this is a full faired bike, and I've noticed that also when you're going at high speeds you're getting good wind protection all over your body and also your legs. On my other adventure bike, it's a semi-naked bike, so it's half fairing. I get a lot of kind of wind hits and wind pressure on my legs, right, my thighs, and my legs are kind of getting beat around by the wind over long distances. But here my legs don't feel any kind of impact from the wind, and it's a nice kind of comfortable feeling, good coverage, good protection from the wind. It comes in into play quite a bit when you're in cold weather, right? You don't want to get wind chill effect, so that's been quite nice. See, for example, right now the clutch feels so smooth. It's easy to pull in. not sure why sometimes it feels like it's easy to pull in and sometimes it feels like it's very hard to pull it in. I'm not sure. But I guess give it some time and I come to a more conclusive conclusion over the long term. So the other thing I want to point out about this bike is there is a lot of room here in the cockpit. I am 6 foot tall and I usually get quite cramped on bikes. A lot of bikes I've noticed cramp me, but I'm not feeling cramped on this bike at all. And so that's been a nice. I remember there are some 600s that I rode that I felt cramped in, but not this one. I don't feel cramped on this one at all. It's definitely larger than 600 in terms of the cockpit wise, but it feels and handles just like a 600, so that's quite impressive. Pier 39. It's beautiful. Okay, I just stalled it there. Still getting used to it. This bike, right? It takes a while to get used to a bike. I like the dash layout here. The dash is extremely legible. The new dash, I checked out the 2016 model dash. It's very similar to the old dash. They didn't make much changes to it, and so I like this dash. The tachometer is nice. So why did I get so I had the choice of getting the 2015 or the 2016. And as I explained, I don't know whether I covered this, but I got the 2015 because firstly I got a good deal on the closeout model, and secondly the other thing that was important to me was the fact that I don't like taking risks with the first year production model, because in any product, whether it's software or hardware, I know there are always bugs in the first year product. For example, the R1 had some gearbox issues last year when it first came out. I didn't want to deal with any of that headache with this bike in the first year model, so I settled for the 2015, which was the last production year of this bike, and that I just wanted to make sure that I didn't experience any kind of significant issues, right, from an ownership perspective. I don't have time to deal with production issues. Just want to ride. I don't want to be spending time in the shop. So that's one of the and then the other factors was the seating, the rear leg footbags you can adjust. That this has adjustability. The 2016 they took that feature away. I'm just surprised why they took that away in the 2016 model, the adjustability of the rear pegs. Kind of surprising, very surprising. And the weight, I think I mentioned the weight, this is 10 pounds lighter than the 2016 model. So I wanted a lightweight bike. I think the lighter the bike, the more agile and more fun it is. Sorry, didn't notice them. I've also been pretty impressed by the sound of the exhaust note, and it sounds just, even in stock form, the exhaust sounds quite nice. I'll breathe away. I think kind of, if the stock sounds as good, I just can't imagine how good a kind of an aftermarket exhaust is going to sound on this. I think it's going to just sound absolutely great. So on my other bike I have a Two Brothers exhaust system, so on this one I think the Acropitch exhaust is a good consideration. I might consider that one. to get on this one. If you guys have any suggestions, ZX10 owners, what exhaust works best on the ZX10, just drop me a note below and let me know. Because I can definitely admit I'm not a ZX10R expert right now. I'm still getting used to the bike, so my experiences will grow over time. So I've got about 83 miles on it so far, day one. So if you guys owners, ZX10 owners, have any suggestions on and tips on what aftermarket market parts I should consider and get, I would love to hear your viewpoints, because I don't believe one person can know it all. It takes a community, a team. You build off knowledge of a lot of people. I'm going to do my bit in terms of contributing to the pool in terms of knowledge. See, this is what I like about this bike, the lane splitting. It's been a surprise. I didn't know it was going to be this easy to lane split in this thing. Pretty impressive. Yep, so yeah, that's what I meant, right? The bumps, it's amazing the way